What's up, everybody? This is Ronald, and it is showtime. This Saturday, February 11th, at the Miracle Theater in Washington, D.C., is our live show. The theme is Love on Screen, and we'll have a night of comedy, storytelling, and discussions of love in all of its forms in television and film. Tickets are still available, but they're going to run out this week. So it's officially the last minute, which means it's time for you to grab your tickets before they're gone. The link to them and details about the night are available in our show notes. The 50% patron discount is still available for Patreon members. Once the tickets sell out, that discount goes with it. So now is also the time to join the Patreon. That link is in our show notes as well. All right, for today's review, I'm happy to be joined by someone who actually made their show debut while I was out sick in December. I'm so happy to have him back this week. Today's movie? Knock at the Cabin. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin, written by M. Night Shyamalan, Steve Desmond, and Michael Sherman, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Dave Bautista, let's just stand over here, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, Nikki Amuka-Bird, Kristen, Abby Quinn, and Rupert Grint. For a complete cast listing, check out the link in our show notes. I am not here by myself. I am here with
Chioke I'anson.
Chioke I'anson, the triumphant return of Mr. Avatar himself, Mr. Number One Fan, Mr. James Cameron, here with me to discuss Knock at the Cabin. Now, Knock at the Cabin is another M. Night Shyamalan joint in which a family is chosen at a cabin to make a decision in order to seemingly save the world, as directed by a band of people led by Dave Bautista. Chioke, what did you think of the movie?
I think that I was mistaken about this movie. I thought I was going to see an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but in fact, I was seeing a movie directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And this mistake colored my viewing of the film. I was prepared to love it or hate it by the end. But by the end of the film, I found myself putting it, my rating firmly in the medium category. You ever hear that one, maybe it was a This American Life episode about how like that movie, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, is a fully medium movie?
Yes.
This was a fully medium movie.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, you've kind of congealed some ideas in my head, because walking out of the theater, I know the audience did not like this movie. You could tell from the titter, there was barely any reaction to all of that. As the movie went on, you were absolutely right. It was not an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It didn't even feel much like a thriller at times. It just felt like I'm just watching things happen on the screen, and I think the movie itself thought it was doing a better job of thinking deeper thoughts than it actually was. And when I got to the end, I think you're absolutely right. I think it was mid. For me, it was sub-mid. It was mid, but it was sub-mid. It wasn't like, I don't think it's quite trash, but it's like, it's definitely was not my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's not trash because to me it was very competently directed. I thought that
the acting was good.
The acting was good. The use of claustrophobic camera angles was good. Yes. The isolated setting. I thought that all of the elements were there. I didn't dislike the dialogue. It just happens to be the case that the story was missing the thing that it needed, and it tried to give it to us in like little sprinkles.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, we're going to need a bigger sprinkle.
Yeah.
Yo, we're going to need a bigger sprinkle
Yeah.
if we're going to get out of this movie okay.
Yeah.
And so because the film seemed to generally be lacking the meaning that I thought it needed,
Yeah.
I was like, well, surely what's going to happen is that there's going to be like a Shyamalan-like kind of twist at the end.
Yeah.
And then, I'm either going to be upset by it or think that it's genius.
Yeah.
And then that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then I was left wondering why we made this film.
Okay, and I feel the same. I think while watching that, I remember the same thing. I remember thinking, okay, I'm assuming that the twist is coming, but I'm like, but it's Shyamalan. He doesn't necessarily like want to be a one-trick pony anymore. As evidenced from his most recent body of work, he's in on the joke now. He understands like what people say when they say it's just Shyamalanian or that it's going to be just a twist coming and all of that. And I hate to say it, but I think this movie needed a twist. Because when I got to the end, I'm like, if you're going to slow burn, here's the thing. I've watched a couple of mysteries lately. I watched Banshees of Inisherin, which felt like a mystery in a lot of ways. I watched Glass Onion, which was a straight up mystery.
Definitely a mystery, yeah.
And draws you in, they draw you in and they make you think and they want to say, what did I miss? I even watched recently the one, Missing, another mystery movie where they're watching it unfold as it goes. This one I'm watching it unfold, and little did we know it actually unfolded in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And we're just watching, and if I'm being honest with y'all, it's going to feel like a spoiler when I say it because there is no twist, but it unfolds in the trailer. And you've seen it. Like you're watching it. Correct. That's it. And I think you're right. It needed more. Go ahead.
I mean, it's not okay. Like it's not okay that this is how the movie went down.
Yeah. I'm experiencing this. I'm experiencing the same thing you are, where I'm like, I know I didn't like it, but it's hard to articulate why, because all of the things you said worked. Like,
all right, yeah. So do you know how we spoke on your Patreon? Subscribe to Ronald Young Jr.'s Patreon, Leaving the Theater.
Thank you.
We spoke on the Patreon about Atlanta.
Atlanta, yes.
Okay, and so now in Atlanta, there's a lot of debate online about what certain scenes meant or what they did.
Yep.
And most of those debates are wrong because those things don't matter.
Yep.
Like the background plot mechanisms in Atlanta don't matter because Atlanta is about something that's much more profound than simply the setting and what's happening kind of in the story, on the basis of the story. And so then, so this is a film where I was like, okay, well, surely there's going to be a kind of unfolding revelation at the end because the stuff that they're doing currently matters in a flat way.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't see myself getting to the end of the film and thinking to myself, oh, well, actually, whatever's happening at the end doesn't matter. The mechanisms don't matter because what I'm seeing is so profound and meaningful.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop right there. That's exactly my issue with this movie. Here's I think even better comparison. Have you watched The Leftovers on HBO?
Yes.
I think The Leftovers is a show where or even Lost in some cases. Lost is the worst example, but Leftover, it's both by Damon Lindelof, but Leftovers is a show that you're watching it and things are happening and you're like, whoa, I'm going on this journey. And when you get to the end, it is a little bit nihilistic in the way that it ends, but it really, you're right, it doesn't matter because the journey was so profound that when you get to the end, you're just like, you know what? Or another one, The Watchmen, another one by Damon Lindelof. Damon Lindelof does this, what they were trying to do here, better. But you're right, if the actions of the movie have no kind of, if there's no heft behind them, if they have no like sense of, if there's no gravitas to them, or if it doesn't mean anything, you can't then get to the end and try to tell me something profound when I'm just like, I didn't believe you the whole time. Yeah. Why would I believe you now?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. And then the central tension, the dilemma, it requires like a family or at least one member of the family to kind of attach it or associate it with like let's say a wider matter of identity politics.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I guess that they're gonna lean all the way into that, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
And then I was just all the way confused.
Yeah.
That's all that happened. I mean, like I was truly kind of sitting there like, well, where is the thing that's going to make this matter? Because even if we're in like if we're the cause of a wider existential threat, it doesn't matter because the metaphor has to be there to sustain the choices that people make.
Yeah.
And so then in a weird way, the absence of the metaphor made the existential issues mundane.
Yes. Not only that, you know what? To put it in Nick Hill terms, I think the stakes honestly were not there. And it's funny because they try to emphasize it like 7 billion people are going to die. And I was like, yeah, I don't care about none of those people. I was like, you've done, as a movie watcher, you've done nothing to actually make me think that I should care about any of these people. Even when you show people dying, I'm just like, that could be anybody. I don't care. Like, why does this matter to me at all as a movie watcher? So if that's going to be the stakes of your movie, if those aren't the stakes, that I don't care about that. What I do care about is these 3 people in the house. And to be honest with you, you did give me a lot to make me care about them in certain ways. And I really see some of those portions. But again, like for me, there was parts where I'm like, I'm really, it doesn't feel like that hard of a decision for me until the very end when it becomes forced to be a hard decision because 2 people are opposed as it turns into the very end. So I'm just like, I think that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for you to make it a movie that's like, that makes me like worth thinking about any of that. With all of that being said, what do you rate this movie of 5 stars?
I would probably give it 2 stars. And it's weird because, like I said, the movie was tense for a good portion of it. You're like, okay, well, I feel the weight of this dilemma, so it's got that going for it. But then it essentially evaporates, and that evaporation retroactively erases the tension of the film. So 2 stars.
I give it 2.5. I will never watch this movie again. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody either. However, the acting was very good. I found myself looking at the lead actors, not Dave Bautista, but Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge, and I thought they both did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed watching them. I thought they played well together, and I just believed both of them. However, I just didn't believe the premise of the movie, and I don't think it was profound enough to deserve anything honestly barely above a 2. The 0.5 is going to their acting, if I'm being honest, because I agree with you. Most of your conclusions when it comes to it, it's like, this is a 2 or 5 star movie. I didn't like it, and I won't watch it again.
It's a rough movie because if we take the premise seriously, if we start with the movie where the kind of hostage couple believes the dilemma, then it's not a dilemma.
Yes.
And if we start the movie where the hostage couple doesn't believe, and then they do, and they're right, then we've wasted our time.
Yeah.
But if we started the movie and the question of belief stayed there and hung in the air the whole movie,
yes,
it probably would have been a better movie that we would have been excited to talk about.
Yes, agreed. And I think they kind of dropped that, you're right, they dropped that tension towards the end in a way that makes us say, oh, I don't know, I really don't know how I feel about the rest of this generally. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't watch it again. I think we're both giving it a 2-star rating.
Side note, it posits that the queers have to save the world.
Yeah.
And haven't we put enough on our community?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It doesn't make any, like it's, yeah, it feels completely unfair. How's it going? All right. It feels completely unfair. I will say the one thing other is there's a hate crime aspect to this that is mentioned that is a complete red herring.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the sprinkle, right?
Yeah.
So it does that, and it kind of, I mean, it does, to be fair, it does the job of a red herring.
Yeah.
But it does not do so convincingly because it's, and actually it does so in a very weird way because there's this suspicion kind of toward the beginning, and then the suspicion turns out to be true. Also, it doesn't matter. So it's not even a red herring.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like there's a suspicion, it turns out to be true, and it doesn't matter. And I think, honestly, that's this movie. It's, you know what I mean? It's a movie that we thought was going to be good, but it wasn't, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I think that's where it is. Chioke, before I let you go, let me ask you one question. Okay. Do you have plans this Saturday, February 11th?
No, I'm not doing anything, actually.
Okay. I mean, like anything you, like, maybe you know, it's before Valentine's Day. It's February 11th. So,
oh, you know what? I just remembered. I'm going to see the Leaving the Theater live show up in D.C. Oh my goodness, I hear it's going to be a storytelling evening in which Ronald Young Jr. and a cast of D.C. talented people are going to tell tales about their favorite love scenes in movies. I'm so excited about this.
okay, it doesn't sound convincing, but I'm glad you're coming. I'm glad you're coming. I really appreciate that. And per usual, yeah, it'll be good to have you there. So again, it's not too late to get tickets. They're available in the show notes, February 11th, Miracle Theater. It's going to be a lot of fun. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh, It's Big Ron Studios. Thomas Tyra of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Tom. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Knock at the Cabin or Chioke I'anson, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at Oh, It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh, It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh, It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh, It's Big Ron Stu. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being with me, Chioke.
This movie was not worth driving 2 hours for.
So it's like, what, like, yeah, it feels completely unfair. I mean, I think that's the only way to say it. Like, because it's like, yeah, it doesn't feel right.
Yo, if you come to the Leaving the Theater live show, I will do the voicemail in your home answering machine.
Okay, but like they won't recognize you because they won't recognize your face by your voice. So yeah, if you find Chioke, he'll do your voicemail. And if you know anything about NPR underwriting, you'll understand why that's very, very important. Leaving the Theater. Ooh. It felt good. All right.